Looking at the Markets with David Modell. What is the future of cryptocurrency and the blockchain? This is David Modell. You're tuned in to Looking at the Markets. According to Max Kaiser, Facebook's coin, Global Coin, is set to take out Ripple. That's what he says. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Will the future consist of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple, or will companies create their own branded coins to replace these other popular cryptocurrencies? It's an interesting question. Hey, JP Morgan, they jumped into the fray by creating their own digital coin for payments. It's called JPM Coin. And Kodak came out with the Kodak coin tokens for payments that will be simplified and faster. So you've got big companies, big brands coming out with their own branded blockchains and cryptocurrencies. Could these replace Bitcoin? Could they replace Ethereum and Ripple? Could they change the blockchain ecosystem as we know it? Well, hey, I've got an expert, and you're going to want to watch this whole video because he's going to tell you about the future of coins, of tokenizations, of the blockchain, and we've got an opportunity for you that you don't want to miss out on. So stay tuned for an incredible interview. This is David Modell looking at the markets. Stick around. Hello and welcome to Looking at the Markets with David Modell. You guys know by now that I am a crypto and blockchain enthusiast. I've been in it for a while now, but not as long as the gentleman whom I'm going to be interviewing today. I'm not in as deeply as he is, and so we're both going to learn together about the future of the blockchain and perhaps for companies that want to mint their own currency. Is that where we're going? Are we moving beyond just Bitcoin and Ethereum and the more popular ones? What are the opportunities out there? And so I'm going to be interviewing Mr. Cameron Chell, the chairman and co-founder of ICOX Innovations, Inc. Cameron has been a serial entrepreneur for over 30 years. He's been in this game for a long time. He's helped to lead teams that have designed, built, commercialized everything from electronic payment systems, drilling rigs, even the Earth observation video cameras outside the International Space Station, and some very famous companies you might have heard of. Kodak, okay? And so we're going to get into that. So, Mr. Chell, without any further ado, welcome to my program.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a real pleasure.
Yeah, oh no, the pleasure's all mine. Yeah, absolutely. And I should mention before we get started that if people want to investigate your company, which I'm super excited about, it's called ICOX Innovations. It's at icoxinnovations.com. And if they'd like to look into the shares on the TSXV exchange, ticker symbol is ICOX, easy to remember. And also on the OTC markets in the United States, same ticker symbol, ICOX. So let's get into the crypto revolution, which started 10 years ago with Satoshi Nakamoto and Bitcoin, but it's changed quite a bit. From geeks and anarchists and cyberpunks, now it's, you got Starbucks entering into it, Facebook, JP Morgan, IBM, Microsoft even. So what's going on a grand scale with blockchain tech, and where's the industry heading to?
So, first of all, again, thanks so much for having me, and I love your thoughts and commentary on the industry and space, and your enthusiasm for it. Look, in general, blockchain is a revolutionary, nothing less than a revolutionary technology. It's actually been around for quite some time, well over 20 years in terms of a concept and some initial designs, but never really implemented on a scale that was commercial or practical until, of course, Satoshi did what he did. And you're right. I mean, it started off kind of like as a anti, the man or the revolution or that type of thing. But the reality is the technology is so powerful, it's mainstreaming now very, very quickly. And where we see the technology being utilized in its essence is all about reducing costs and, more importantly, about reducing friction. So when you've got a blockchain and you can implement it in a manner where you don't need a third party to actually verify or act as an escrow agent or to be a trusted intermediary. And that's like on a grand scale from an escrow agent to on a law firm to somebody verifying a credit card transaction, which is highly automated already, but there's still a centralized force or figure or brand in the middle that spends the time and has all the infrastructure in order to do that. The net of all of that is that's friction. There's a lot of expense in that entire ecosystem. So while we saw a lot of entrepreneurs starting to look at how can I reduce the infrastructure friction or the transaction friction in all of these scenarios and be able to provide a better product or service, we quickly now see enterprise who already has scale that if they can reduce friction, it provides immediate bottom line results, saying, hey, wait a minute, instead of having the little card at Starbucks that I have to buy, which is effectively a gift card or just an app on my phone, now Starbucks can actually have a currency and a wallet that can be used in all kinds of different ways. It can be used for surveying, it can be used for ordering ahead, it can be used for payment within store, or quite frankly with all their affiliate partners as well. And Starbucks collects very valuable data and builds rewards and loyalty programs. It's really the evolution for them of what happened with the little coupon stamping card to where it is today. So what we're seeing is that actually the end user, which in a B2B functions might be vendors or suppliers, or in a consumer fashion, an end user at a Starbucks store is actually very comfortable knowing that there's a blockchain technology being implemented and not a third party that's either costing them more money or it's somebody that they have to implicitly trust because of the brand as opposed to the technology. So a rather long answer, but the net is a technology system that allows trust to replace, technology trust as opposed to an escrow agent is now what's at hand, and that's going to reduce friction out of the economy. So it's being adopted by big enterprise.
Sure. Now, would you say there's a big difference between all the thousands of altcoins out there and, let's say, a private blockchain with a stable coin that a corporation would design? And can you explain what exactly is a private blockchain and token, like the one that Kodak implemented, for example?
Sure. Two entirely different things between an altcoin and, say, what JP Morgan has done or Facebook or Kodak One, for example. So an altcoin, typically, they were built outside of a regulatory purview, and they were generally used to raise money. They weren't built on banking rails, if you will, with banking regulation and money transmitter license that allowed those coins to be fungible and used as a cash type of currency. And so they became basically, for an illegal speculative instrument. So what a digital currency is, similar to what JP Morgan or the global coin from Facebook coming out is designed to be a payment mechanism that can be used to actually do transactions. So in the case of JP Morgan, they have their own blockchain, and it allows them to take their institutional clients and move their money around the world instantly and at a fraction of a cost compared to a traditional banking rail. Now, JP Morgan still needs all the proper banking licensing, all the money transmitter licenses and such, all the applicable rules and regulations have to be followed, but the technology infrastructure removes an entire, I'll call it, layer in the platform and adds an additional element of trust where now money can be moved simply by moving debits and credits as opposed to actually having to physically move a digit or a fiat dollar. In the case of Facebook, they're actually going to be able to have people do peer-to-peer transactions across WhatsApp. They're going to be able to use it for the paying of advertising or goods and services, or even to be paid back to the user for allowing Facebook to have permission to certain levels of data on your profile. So again, maybe the intents were the same when maybe some of the altcoins started, but the regulatory requirements and expertise to actually do the second at an enterprise level within today's economy is an entire different scale of not just technology but management and regulation.
Right, but what exactly is the competitive advantage of processing payments through your own ecosystem, your own microeconomy, if you will, as opposed to just going the traditional route of using banks, credit card processors, all that stuff we're accustomed to?
Yeah, so for the merchant, it's significant. The initial out of the gate obvious one is just the transaction cost. So, with a Visa MasterCard, you're looking anywhere from, 2 to 6%. With your own rail, that's a blockchain-based rail, you're looking anywhere from half a point to 2 points. So when you're dealing in maybe certain industries that have a 10% margin, that's a very big deal. Or if you're dealing in a B2B supply chain model where where that money is costing you to move across lines, it's just cost that you're taking out of the system. So it's significant from that standpoint. The second aspect is speed. So, JP Morgan, rather than waiting a day or 2 days or 3 days, depending on international wire and clearing and all the rest of it, going through, the SWIFT system or the ACH system, whatever, it's instant. It can be done absolutely instant. So the time cost of money is a big deal for them as well. Third is the data. So typically organizations who might be relying on merchant credit cards, for example, who's collecting that data is Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal, right? And they're collecting data on your customers as opposed to you utilizing that data for your customers in a way or a manner that allows you to better serve them with reward and loyalty programs. So basically, AI-driven reward and loyalty programs are the fourth benefit that comes out of this. In terms of an end user, the systems that we're designing are seamless. So if you use a credit card or if you've used PayPal before, using the Freedom Coin, for example, on the Gunbroker network is just, in fact, I would argue, much easier to use than any of those other electronic forms as well. So there's no 16-bit encryption codes. There's no complexity like that around it. It's all automated in the background, and everything we build is a stable coin.
Got it. So for a company to have its own branded cryptocurrency and blockchain, it's more transparent, it sounds like. It is more cost effective. It's better with the data privacy. So it sounds like it's better on all fronts pretty much. Very cool. And that leads into ICOX, the company you founded. What can you tell me, just the real basic format of your company?
So at ICOX, we build digital currencies for established brands and enterprise customers. And so again, like we've seen with JP Morgan or Facebook or the Starbucks coins that are all being developed or in the case of JP Morgan already launched, that's great for the kind of top 250 companies in the world who may have the technical chops and the ability to get the transmitter licenses and the engineering resource and just the treasury management and the complexity of it all. That's fine for them. But the rest of the Fortune 5,000 or 10,000, they're not going to have the resources nor the time to spend doing that. But it's a competitive advantage that they can't ignore. So ICOX is built and designed to actually create and manage those currencies for the Fortune 5,000. Excluding those, top few companies that will be in a position to do this themselves. Yeah. So, that's in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Yeah, sounds like a great business model. And I understand you have some high-profile clients. I did my own calculations, and the way I figure is that, I see the stock, by the way, if people want to take a look at the stocks, charts and all that good stuff right now, the ticker symbol is ICOX, whether you're in Canada or the United States. It's real simple. I recommend people check it out because I see it as massively undervalued compared to the intrinsic value of the company. And you've got some huge clients already. Tell me if I'm right. Kodak, gunbroker.com, which is a huge firearms company. Which is trying to get around all the regulations involved in traditional payment systems, and others. Cathio, I believe, is involved. If you could tell me about the 4 existing clients you got, I know it's real exciting.
Sure. So let me start with Gunbroker. So first of all, Gunbroker approached us, and to be super clear, these are like really regulatory compliant and conscientious individuals. Yeah. In no way are they trying to get around anything at all. They wanted to build a system that could ensure regulatory compliance, but at the same time provide people who are enjoy that outdoor lifestyle or who are interested in firearms and such, give them the opportunity to conduct business electronically, but do it in a way that actually makes a safer gun transaction. Currently about half of all those transactions have to happen by check or money order. And, other than, the US dollar, check and money order are probably the worst things to use in terms of track and trace and ensuring, things like KYC and AML and such. So, they're you can manipulate them at the end of the day. So Gunbroker, they really want to be able to ensure that not only they have a great regulatory environment, but that their customers have a great experience as well. Now, they have a unique problem in the fact that not only did much of the financial industry turn its back on the firearms industry, but they also, they need a method to do electronic payment. But at the same time, they have very, very strict firearms regulations that they need to follow. So what we were able to design and build with them was what's called the Freedom Coin. And the Freedom Coin is launching currently. It's in late beta to their 4.7 million active members. They do over $600 million in transactions. And what they'll be able to do with that is, like, literally when you sign up for a Freedom Coin, you put in your last 4 digits of your social security number, you put in your email address, and you put in your phone number. And in less than 3 minutes, all of your background checks are done, as well as all of your KYC, which is Know Your Client, AML, anti-money laundering law, your OFAC, SDN, all of the financial and all the firearms regulations are cleared. Now, if there's issues or problems, it walks you through a process to then continue to go through the verification. But for the vast majority of people, it's about a 3-minute process. And now you have a Freedom Coin wallet, and you can populate that wallet. You can input fiat currency into it, and you've got Freedom Coins, which allows you to now transact electronically, securely, safely throughout the entire Gunbroker network, which doesn't include just Gunbroker, but many other affiliates that are coming on board as well that kind of surround that whole outdoor sportsman lifestyle. So we think that was a great use case where to both the left and the right side of that firearms equation, we were able to help provide a solution that makes a safer gun transaction, yet provides a more rich experience for the consumer at the end of the day. So that's Gunbroker. Yep. Kodak One is an image rights management platform. It is a brand licensed company of Kodak. We built and designed the image rights management platform, which is all blockchain based, and we've designed a Kodak coin which actually helps settle the actual infringement on that intellectual property, on those images throughout the internet. That company is really doing well. I can say, without saying anything I shouldn't say, its numbers are scaling weekly right now. It's attracting some fantastic customers, and really the secret there to attract customers is how easy is that experience for me as a photographer or a very large archive. Let's call it, a large media company, if you will, that has a huge archive that they want to make sure the web is pervasively crawled, and they can understand, track all the data, and collect on any and all infringements. So a great use case for blockchain and a great instant settlement mechanism with the Kodak coin. Sure. Cathio, very quickly, is a very well placed, strong organization within the Catholic Church community, led by some of the some very well-known leaders in the United States, who are out building and designing basically a PayPal, if you will. And this is really not a great description, but it's illustrative. A PayPal for that community, for the Catholic community and the Catholic economy. It'll allow people to move money peer to peer for remittance throughout the world. And again, absolutely fully regulatory compliant. It will also provide the millennials of that community the opportunity to, contribute, to donate, to relief efforts or to their parishes through an electronic method, something that they're very used to. The entire Catholic economy is basically the affiliates around it are signing up to be able to accept that Cathio coin. And whether that's universities or hospitals or the such. It could quite likely grow to be, the most transacted coin out there. I mean, certainly the scale and the size of that particular customer has that potential anyway.
Yeah, and then you've got BitRail as well, and the way I calculated it, I think that your book value is worth twice as much as your market cap right now. I talked about undervalued before. This is really an under the radar opportunity here. I figure that if your current market cap is around 7.5 million Canadian dollars, and then if you have, let's say, 3.5 million in cash equivalents, your equity position in Kodacoin is probably worth around 4 million Canadian. BitRail worth another 6 million Canadian. So you've got a mispricing here, the way I see it, between the stock price and the intrinsic value of the company. So huge opportunity here in ICOX. Now, I think this would be a great time to go over your board of directors, your management team, because I mean it's star-studded. So, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I think really our entire board is incredible and very, very engaged. I think a couple of notable individuals, without taking away from anybody on the board, would include Ed Moy. And Edmund he's the 38th director of the U.S. Mint. And Ed jumped on board. I've been working with Ed for quite some time, and it really he has a deep understanding, as you can imagine, of currency, and he's been a big proponent of digital electronic currencies, but he's an absolute regulatory nut. And I say that in a positive way. His view is that the regulations in general were not put in place to control the people, but they were there as consumer protections and to help the economy flow with as little friction as possible. And he sees what we're doing as an opportunity to actually increase and improve on that. So he is a crypto enthusiast, quite frankly, and he's a really big blockchain enthusiast as well. So he's been fantastic for us. Alfonso Jackson, who is the former HUD secretary in the United States, he's also the former vice chairman of JP Morgan Chase. He brings a wealth of experience in the payment industry, as a matter of fact. He's also a current director of one of the largest payment companies in the world. But he brings a ton of banking experience as well, and understands clearly the regulatory environment that we have to satisfy in order to attract the Fortune 500 or the Fortune 5000 type companies that we are working with and will continue to work with as this entire new burgeoning market, just kind of basically explodes.
Yeah, if we had more time, we would mention everybody on your board because they're all fantastic. But
imagine
that a cryptocurrency company with a former director of the U.S. Mint on the board, former cabinet secretary and U.S. cabinet secretary, and former vice chair of J.P. Morgan Chase on the board. I mean, that speaks volumes right there. If I wanted to launch a competitor to ICOX today, which I wouldn't even attempt it, but how much money, time, and talent would I need to even compete in the space?
Well, that's a good question, and I think if you were a typical Silicon Valley backed VC play looking to get into this, you're looking in the $100-ish million range probably in order to build the critical mass that you would probably think that you need and attract the talent that would probably be necessary. You can look at organizations like Coinbase, who I don't know well, but it seems like a fantastic organization, and they're $8 billion plus valuation, and there are hundreds of millions of dollars that have gone into them. Not that they're a competitor or a direct competitor by any stretch to us, but that's kind of the scale that we're working at. I think the difference with ICOX Innovations is that the team that I get to work with are all 20-year plus tech entrepreneurs. We've all built a number of companies. Some to varying success, obviously, not all of them successful by any stretch. A couple blow-ups too, for sure. But we've all had some level of decent exits, and so we know how to build these things. And while we've gone out and we've raised capital, for sure, we really are still continue to bootstrap the business and really focus on customers. So as we look at the rest of the industry out there that went through a lot of noise and hoopla, and this is who we are. This is the big picture of the future. And, we got a little bit of press out of that. I think in particular when we announced the Kodak project. But other than that, we've been very under the radar screen and very just focused on customers. We most of us lived through the .com, and some of us were kind of like loudmouths out there of how great this was going to be, and got our butts handed to us by the companies that just had their head down and did the work with the customers. And so since that time, that's what we've learned to do, and I think that's the difference with ICOX. Listen, we've got 4 customers. Our average engagement up front is about $2 million. We get between 0.02 and 0.04 basis points on all the transactions that run through our system. We've got monthly SaaS fees that we charge, all very small compared to the size of the opportunities in front of us, but very, very profitable and meaningful for a company our size. And if we do 4 customers this year, I wouldn't doubt that we do 24 customers next year. and we'll do it based on raising a small amount of money and working with customers and building on cash flow.
Yeah. And finally, where do you see the industry and particularly this company in 5 years?
Well, I really would love to think that in many respects, we kind of become the IBM or the Oracle of of the currency space. So I would hazard to say that we'd be an operating system, but I think we would be kind of one of the 4 or 5 key pillars of companies that are instrumental in the operation of digital currencies throughout the world. And we'll continue to stay focused on the enterprise level. To do that, we certainly see ourselves as a multi-billion-dollar opportunity over the course of the next few years. And if we're thinking really big picture, I think it's a matter of 10 years, 12 years from now before not just every major company has their cryptocurrency, but every person has their own cryptocurrency. It's really a phenomena that's unleashing here. And if you really can understand the power of what's happening with being able to build a quote unquote a trustless economy, or economy that doesn't require third-party agents, you start to grasp the size of what's unfolding here. So anyway, we're lucky to be where we're at, and lucky to have had this chance to talk with you today.
Well, it's more than just luck. Your company, ICOX, got where you guys are right now with these 4 huge clients and many more surely to come as you scale up in 2019, 2020, and beyond, just by getting into the space early, building an incredible team, and really tackling this problem of how can companies brand and create their own alternative to traditional payment systems. And because those old school payment systems, I believe, are inefficient, and I think they're on their way out. I think people have had enough of PayPal and credit cards with their fees, with their lack of transparency. Facebook, to me, is trying to reestablish their reputation, which has been damaged by privacy issues. And if more companies want to do that, they're going to have to get out of the traditional mode of thinking in terms of that and get into their own branded cryptocurrencies. And you guys, you mentioned Oracle as an analogy. I think that is apt because you're such an early mover in the space. I can't even think of anyone else who's really doing what you guys are doing. So I commend you for that.
Thanks for the opportunity to talk. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. This has been Looking at the Markets. I've been speaking with Cameron Chell. Again, if you want to check out ICOXinnovations.com to learn more about the company, about their team, and about what they're doing, how they're transforming and disrupting the cryptocurrency and stablecoin and branded coin space. If you want to check out the stock, take a look at the chart. You'll see it's way below where it ought to be. It's selling at a really great price right now, both in Canada and the United States. The ticker symbol is ICOX. Make your own decisions, but definitely want to take a look at that and consider adding it to your holdings for you crypto enthusiasts and even non-enthusiasts out there. Mr. Chell, we're going to have you back sometime soon, if that's okay with you. I appreciate it. You're welcome back anytime, sir. Thank you so much.
Look forward to it. Have a great day. Thanks.